Roller coasters are meant to be scary, and they have been from the very start. I mean, millions of people have been scared of them, whether it has to do with their height, their speeds, or things like inversions. And so today, I'll be giving you advice on how to conquer your fears of roller coasters and enjoy these rides, coming from a coaster enthusiast and a ride operator. But first, I want to make something crystal clear. Roller coasters are safe. Many people assume that they're sloppily put together like carnival rides, but they really aren't. In fact, roller coasters are actually put up to higher safety standards than airplanes. Yes, accidents have happened in the past, but the odds of someone getting injured in a ride accident is 1 in 15 million. Rides and roller coasters cycle hundreds of times every day. Plus, there's daily inspection and maintenance on them. They're very safe. Restraints are on all roller coasters. Yes, they are safe. And one misconception is that if your seatbelt comes undone, you're screwed, you're done for. This is a lie. Seatbelts are secondary redundant mechanisms. Plus, if you really think about it, why would you be able to undo them yourself mid-ride or at the start of a ride if they were so important to your safety? Why wouldn't they cover it up more, have something so you couldn't do that, right? In addition to this, a lot of people think ride operators just have one start and one stop button, which is not true at all. They have buttons and switches for things like locking gates to showing lights if restraints are locked, to a lot of other things. I mean, being a ride operator sounds easy on paper, but it's a little more complicated than most people think. We go through extensive training and we're held to pretty high safety standards. So please just trust ride operators. They know what they are doing. There are many fears associated with riding roller coasters, and I think a very prevalent one is the fear of heights. And I get it, I used to be scared of heights too. But I found a way to get over that fear, which you can do too. For me personally, what worked was I was in California at Knott's Berry Farm about 2 years ago from now, and I wanted to conquer my fear so I could go on some of the rides there. And although I did chicken out of some rides like Silver Bullet and Accelerator, I remember I rode Supreme Scream and I was petrified. I mean, it's a 300-foot tall triple drop tower. But then at one point I came to realize something. You're only at the top height for a couple of seconds, and once you've gone on the park's tallest ride, the rest seem manageable. And because I rode Supreme Scream, I was able to ride other rides such as DC Rivals in Australia. So, for me personally, my best piece of advice is to go on a drop tower, or a big swing ride, or just a very tall ride in the park. Because after riding it, everything else will seem pretty small in comparison. But if that doesn't work for you, another piece of advice is just work your way up with taller and taller rides and roller coasters, primarily going in the back row of things like Viking ships or other flat rides. Either one works. I highly recommend the first one, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I understand. And next up, we have that weird stomach drop feeling. You know, the tingly feeling when you go down a drop tower, when you ride a roller coaster. Personally, I've never really been too scared of that feeling, but I know others who have. So, based on some research, I believe the best course of action is just select a ride that has the feeling and just ride it repeatedly until you become at least slightly more comfortable with the feeling or even start to enjoy it. Not liking the feeling is evolutionary, and it's a human trait, but the more you experience it, the better it gets. You just need to build up a tolerance to it, kind of like spicy food. One other thing you could do, I'd say, is try to distract yourself in some way, like laughing, closing your eyes, talking to yourself, or even just clenching your stomach muscles. Those can all help with the feeling. And even if you think you're never going to get over that feeling, I assure you that you very likely can. And if you still hate it, even after you feel like you've gone over it, that's perfectly okay, because there are lots of roller coasters out there that don't have that feeling. Only issue is that a lot of them are kids' rides, I'd say, but still, no shame in it. Next up, we have the fear of inversions. Vertical loops, or loop-de-loops, or barrel rolls, as people say, look scary, but they're really not as scary as they look when you're actually on the ride. When you go on a typical inversion, you're pushed into your seat, not out of it, and it's over before you really even know it. To get over your fear of inversions, I'd recommend riding something such as a Vekoma boomerang, a shuttle loop, or even a Larson super loop to help you with these feelings. They really do look scary at first, but once you experience them, they really aren't that bad. But now there are also things called hang time inversions, or inversions meant to have you fall out of your seat just a little bit to scare you. They do look absolutely petrifying, and yes, you do dangle a bit, but if you're scared of that, you can always just push your restraint down far into you at the start of the ride to minimize that feeling. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of hang time. I prefer more whippy or faster inversions, but I don't mind hang time too much. And to get over the fear, I personally just rode a Larson Super Loop or one of those carnival rides, the Fireball ones. Those are the exact same ones. Only difference is Larson Super Loops are permanent installations of them. That's my personal favorite if you want to get over your fear of hang time. But yeah, hang time isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. I know some people who love it. I know some people who hate it. So it's really just a personal opinion. And next up, we have airtime. Airtime is a personal favorite of mine and the favorite of many other enthusiasts. And there are two particular main types. There is ejector airtime and there's floater airtime. Both of these are commonly found on wooden coasters, hypercoasters, gigacoasters, and more. Firstly, let's distinguish the two. Ejector airtime is when you get pulled out of your seat, whilst floater airtime is when you float out of your seat gracefully. Most of these sensations don't last too long, and the coaster with the most airtime in the world only has 22 seconds of it, with the ride being 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. But if you're scared of airtime, my suggestion is to find a ride with it. Start at the very front of the train, and then just work your way back. The back row of rides such as El Toro or Fury 325 are known to have significantly more airtime than the front row. So by working your way backwards, you can go and get more and more accustomed to it until you eventually start liking it or not minding it as much. I know some people dislike airtime. It's a perfectly natural sensation. You know, you're flying out of your seat, so not everyone's going to like that. But yeah, I'd say just start at the front, work your way back, and hopefully at some point you'll start to like it. And lastly, we have the fear of speed. This is one I was pretty scared of for a while, and I get it. Going 96 miles an hour down a 325-foot drop is scary, especially if you retain the speed. But a crucial thing to realize is that the speed on the ground looks a lot faster than it actually feels on the ride. On a lot of roller coasters, you're usually too distracted to really pay attention to the speed, or you're having too much fun to worry about it. In addition to this, a lot of coasters have giant hills which kill the speed slowly but surely until the mid-course or final brake run. So one thing to keep in mind is that the initial speed won't be the speed for the entirety of the ride. Personally, I'd recommend trying to find a ride with a mid-course brake run or lots of trim or momentum-killing brakes, such as Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain. That will definitely help you a lot. And of course, you can always work your way up with faster and faster roller coasters, starting with a kiddie ride, moving on to more of a family coaster, to a wooden coaster, to eventually just a super fast launch coaster or an inverted coaster or something along those lines. Another thing that I suppose you could also do to help is close your eyes on some of the rides, or even if you want to, bring some sort of eye goggles. I know in certain countries, such as Abu Dhabi, they give out safety glasses just because of how fast and intense some of the ride speeds are. So you could very easily do the same. Another thing is, it's pretty feasible for you to get over your fear of roller coasters in just one power-through visit to a park. So if you're wanting to get over all your fears in one visit, here's a plan on how you could do it effectively. And for this example, I'll be using Knott's Berry Farm. I would start off with a kid's ride with something like Jaguar as a pretty good beginning coaster. Sit somewhere in the middle to the front row, and you'll enjoy the ride. It's smooth, it's scenic, and it's not intense in the slightest. It's a really nice warm-up ride for all. And then after that, I'd head over to the pirate ship Dragon Swing. I'd recommend getting 2 to 3 rides. I'd say one in the middle, one in the near back, and one in the far back. It's okay to close your eyes, but it gives you a glimpse into what airtime is, and a bit more of a not intense experience, but slightly more thrilling. After that, I would head to Coast Rider, which is a step up from a kiddie ride, but it's decently enjoyable for a wild mouse. Nevertheless, though, it'll give you some ride experience on a faster, more intense ride, and it'll be another good warm-up ride, I'd say. Afterwards, I'd recommend you go on La Revolution, which is a pendulum ride. This helps you experience airtime along with a vertical drop sensation, I would suppose. And it's a bit of a step up, yes, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those frisbee rides where you just rock back and forth while the seats spin. And honestly, it's one of my favorite rides in the entire park. Then after that, it's time for a pretty big step up. I'd recommend going on Ghost Rider, which is Knott's Berry Farm's wooden coaster. It's a smooth, fast, and pretty fun ride with a lot of airtime, speed, and like I said before, it's really smooth. It is a bit of a longer ride, and I'd recommend getting a fast pass since the line gets usually up to 3 hours long, but it'll prepare you for later, more intense rides. I'd recommend sitting to the middle or to the back of the train. A good thing to keep in mind is that the middle row on almost all roller coasters are a lot less intense than the back or the front, I would say. After that, I would hop on Sierra Sidewinder, which is another moderately intense ride just to prepare you for later. It is a spinning coaster. It's meant to be like a family ride, but I'd personally say it's on par with Ghost Rider as a somewhat intense coaster. And yes, it is a step up from the kiddie rides, but it's still a lot of fun, and it's not too bad. Before lunch, it's time to conquer one of the final rides, which is the tallest ride in the park, Supreme Scream. Yes, it is big, as in 300 feet tall big, and it is very, very different from a lot of the other rides, but it's honestly one of the fastest ways to get you over your fear of heights. It's something known as a triple drop tower, and on it, you drop, obviously, at the very top, but then you fall about halfway down and then get shot up again, and you drop, and you get shot up again, multiple times until the ride ends. It's a really fun experience, and I'd recommend sitting in a seat that either faces Accelerator or a different ride, or even just the park. The reason why it's good to go on this ride is because, first of all, it's the tallest in the park, so all the other coasters seem a lot smaller by default. And also, you're only at the top height for a couple of seconds. After you hear a hiss, you'll drop, go up, then go down. But it's not too scary compared to some of the other drop towers I've been on. And it's a really easy, fast way to get over your fear of heights. And yes, it looks intimidating. But once you go on it, it's a lot more fun than you'd expect. And afterwards, it's time for the final 3 rides: Silver Bullet, Hang Time, and Accelerator. Silver Bullet comes first, the B&M inverted coaster, and yes, it looks intimidating. But once you get on it, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's a very graceful ride with a pretty shallow drop and 6 very smooth inversions, and yes, this will be the ride with inversions that you'd first experience, possibly. But it's not very intense, and it's a great introduction to inversions, ranging from nice vertical loops to a very unintense cobra roll. It's a somewhat tall ride too, and it's something called an inverted coaster when you hang below the track and your feet dangle. The reason why this should be your first coaster, or in my personal opinion, your first coaster with inversions, is because they're all very graceful and they're not terribly intense. Lots of loops pull high G-forces such as 4.5, and it's not the most intense B&M invert compared to something like Montu or Alpengeist, which is why I personally think it's a really good starter coaster for inversions. And once you've ridden that, it's time for Hang Time. Hang Time is a Gerstlauer infinity coaster and something known as a dive coaster, where it hangs you over the drop before you rocket down the beyond vertical turquoise track. Yes, it also has inversions, but this one has a lap bar, which are just as safe as over-the-shoulder harnesses. It has a mix of air time, hang time, and very graceful inversions. I would sit either in the middle or the front, and this drop probably has some of the strongest air time out of any of them in the entire park, so if you're scared of that, you can always just push your lap bar down really, really far, and the operators will ensure that it's as far as it can go, just so you feel more secure and safe on it. And I suppose you could make it a little less tight each time you go on it. Of course, it still has to be down, obviously, but just not completely crushing you on the inside of your seat. And then, after that, it's time for Accelerator. Accelerator is an intimate accelerator coaster, which is a rare model to come across because it uses a very outdated launch system. It has a top speed of 82 miles an hour and a top height of 205 feet, and yes, it looks petrifying. But once you've ridden Supreme Scream, you've ridden the tallest ride in the park, and Accelerator doesn't seem too bad in comparison. I'd recommend sitting in the middle or the front, and once you're buckled in, you'll be about a minute away from getting a pretty rare credit. The launch looks intimidating, but it's really nothing once you've traversed it. You reach the top speed in 2.3 seconds, and before you can even catch your breath, you're at the very top of the top hat. And then soon enough after that, you'll be spiraling down and rocketing around 2 large turns before hitting the brakes. It's a lot of fun. It has some airtime when you're going down, and it is a bit of a shorter ride experience, yes, but it makes up for that with how incredibly awesome it is. And then, after you've gone out the exit, congratulations, you've conquered the scariest rides at Knott's Berry Farm, and hopefully your fear of roller coasters as well. While things such as height and speed are the primary fears, I want to go over some of the other ones as well that may be a bit less common. And if you have any other fears you want me to explain, you can just let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll make sure to get to them. The first one is, no, you're not going to get stuck upside down on a roller coaster. In the entirety of roller coaster history, it has happened once. For reference, the first roller coaster with an inversion was built in 1975. So in 51 years, it has happened once. There are over 1,000 roller coasters with at least one inversion, and the odds of you getting stuck upside down are incredibly, incredibly low. And no, Larson's Super Loops and Fireball rides or carnival rides aren't roller coasters. And along with that, I'll be making a video about the difference between flat rides, carnival rides, and roller coasters. That'll explain it further if you have any other inquiries. Number 2, you're not going to fall out of your seat on a roller coaster or a flat ride. If your seatbelt came undone, you'd still be fine. When people say things like, oh, I nearly fell out of a roller coaster, it can always be explained. They say something like, I got ripped upwards out of my seat on the drop. That's airtime. Oh, but I stayed out of my seat. That's also airtime. I was hanging out of my seat on a loop. That's hang time. My restraint popped up. It went up by 1, maybe 2 clicks of the ratchet that it's attached to. You're gonna be okay. The media loves, and I mean loves, to dramatize roller coaster accidents because it gets them more money, so please just don't listen to them. They love spreading small bits of misinformation or hysteria once in a while because it gets them more views. And number 3, lap bars and over-the-shoulder harnesses are equally safe. Neither one is safer. One just makes you feel more secure, while the other one makes you feel more free and open. And just think about it. If shoulder harnesses were safer, why wouldn't all rides equip them for how strict the safety regulations are for rides and roller coasters? And with that, I hope this video helped you. I'll be making more informative videos later on. If you enjoyed this, then you should definitely subscribe for more videos just like this coming in the future. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you guys next week.